Hey everybody, it's 10:10. It's time to hang with Generator Coaching. Christine and Terry.
What's up?
Never know what he's gonna say. We're talking to our clients, our future clients, entrepreneurs, coaches, business people, small business owners, solopreneurs, all those folks that are doing more for themselves and their lives and their families to do all sorts of amazing things. But sometimes we get hung up. Sometimes, like yesterday when I'm doing this gorgeous Canva thing, and it's beautiful, everything lines up, it's great, I hit to download as a PDF. Not what I produced.
Lines everywhere. You couldn't read the thing.
Drove me crazy.
Time after time. So,
But it drove me crazy. I felt like I was crazy. But crazy isn't a feeling. It's not an emotion, is it?
no, it's not. And that's one of the things we're talking about today. The things we're talking about today, well, let's back up for a minute. I was on a podcast yesterday with an awesome guy named Jesse Mogul. He's got his own podcast. We'll put the link to it on the feed after we're done here. But it's from Sobriety to Recovery. And he is in the sobriety community, and he talks about basically mindset and controlling your emotions. And that's one of the areas that I've worked in for years, is emotional resilience and really how to understand your emotions. And this idea of crazy comes up all the time. Oh, I'm feeling crazy, or that guy's being crazy, whatever's going on. And really what happens is we get overloaded with emotions and don't know what to do because of it. And so a couple things we're talking about today is emotions versus behavior. We're acting crazy, but we're feeling something else. The other thing we're talking about is identifying those emotions help us move back to a balanced, intentional place where we can actually take effective action instead of just bouncing off of whatever's going on in the moment. And then how that can really help us start communicating better rather than separating. And so those are the things that I talked about in the podcast. We're going to touch on them just for a few minutes today. And really, where it all starts is our behaviors are different than emotions. And what I'm talking about there is emotions, and I say this much deeper in the podcast, so if it's interesting to you, go check it out. I will have a post after. But emotions are something we experience internally. We don't have you can't see them.
So, like, if I say I'm really sad, like
Right.
so that's how I'm showing up. I'm sad, I'm kind of closed down, my body language is indicating that. So that's the behavior. Can you help us with the example of...
And that's behavior because you can see it. People can see that. Show it again. She's sad, her head's down, she's looking at her feet, she's seeing if they're going to grow, her facial expression is down, and a lot of people think that that's emotion because there's this guy Ekman who talked about we all have emotions and they're all on our face, but those are behaviors. We can see it happen. The internal experience could be loneliness. It could be a feeling of disappointment. It could be a feeling of being invalidated. It could be a feeling of just powerlessness because you don't know what to do. Those are feelings. You can't see what they are, but you can see the behavior, and the behavior comes out, and it looks the same for sad every time. We know sad, but we don't know what's driving sad. That's the emotion. The emotion drives the behavior. And so
you'd say... Would you say, hey, you're kind of looking sad?
Yeah.
Or would...
What's going on
that's
right now?
one way you could do it, right? Or another way would be like, you could be identifying those, and I could be like, yes, I do feel that way.
Right. And so what I teach people is observe, report, and get curious or ask questions. And so observe, report, ask questions. I see you look sad. What's going on right now?
And I could be like, just mind your own business, or I know that that's something I've learned that's something, hey, he's not stating it that way. He's saying, hey, what's going on with you? Because... Inside.
Right, and so
like with my example before with the Canva, I was feeling like, oh, I'm on fire. And then I was like, F.
Right, and what I noticed is she felt discouraged. She felt powerless to fix it. And then she tried it again, and okay, this time it's going to work. Hopeful for a second, and then despairing. And so we have these emotions go back and forth constantly. And, some people say that it's a victim, and then a warrior or whatever it is. But really what it is we feel victimized by our own emotions, and then we try to control our emotions by doing the same thing we were doing before even more. And what we have to really do is step back, identify the emotion, let it go, and then move into the next intentional action. And sometimes it is the same thing again, and sometimes it's doing something completely different.
Or asking for help. There was a margin I couldn't figure out.
That would often be something different. Asking for help is something that doesn't occur to us because we're going to get it. Or my personal favor is I don't want anybody to see I made this mistake. And so I want to fix my mistake. I learned that when I was a little kid because I got critiqued a lot. And so, show that I can fix it rather than ask for help fixing it. And it's amazing when you actually ask for help, you get it done way faster. Sometimes you got to wait for somebody, but it still is way faster, and you can do other things that you can accomplish while you're waiting for help.
And then you show up happy because you accomplished it.
Right. Which is really a behavior. Happy is also a behavior of feeling gratified, feeling supported, feeling encouraged, feeling courageous, feeling empowered. And so these feelings create the behavior of a happy face because I'm not dominated by me. Does that make sense? So what happens is this actually starts flowing into how we communicate with each other. When we don't have the emotional words, we start saying, I'm really angry, and then we blame and shame and criticize everything that was going on around us because we don't have the emotional words for it. When we have the emotional words for it, hey, I'm angry because I thought you said this, and I had this feeling, and I know you didn't mean to do that, but that was my experience. Now we're communicating.
And taking that deep breath even before you.
Oh, yeah.
Bleh,
yeah.
Whatever
that is. I highly recommend deep breaths, regular breaths. Just keep breathing because that's how we stay alive. I'm just saying. So keep breathing, but then also identify the emotion, share the emotion, and realize that they didn't cause it. They just triggered it. They didn't make it happen. It was already happening. We just think they did because they stepped on our landmine.
Yeah, it's just kind of almost easier to blame.
Oh, it's way easier to blame. I can blame everybody. I'm good at it. I've had lots of practice.
Don't give me that look.
I know what you're thinking. And so when we start really stepping back and going, how am I wrong? That's where I start. How am I wrong? Because automatically I go to blame. I go to, this is what's going on. I know they're trying to do something, suspicion. And whenever I have that, I step back and go, how am I wrong? And how am I causing this? And I start taking personal responsibility to understand what's going on with me. And now I can actually share my experience internal with emotional language instead of telling them what they need to change.
So you're saying that we need to identify our emotions, but most people only think of mad, glad, sad, happy, and scared.
Yeah, and some people even think guilt is a feeling, but it's actually a finding.
We're going to have to do that one because you keep bringing that up. So there's 5, but you've identified 28 over your process.
Still 27, but...
27?
I still got 28, and I don't know where the 8th one came from. But it's 27 different emotions, and then we have 3 emotional states. A dominated state where we're trying to actually control. A dominated state, she doesn't like when I go into this, a dominated state where we feel like victims. And then a balanced emotional state where we're not actually bouncing around like a pinball.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is that there's 27 emotions, and the way they show up are in 3 different ways.
Yes.
Which she calls these states.
That's right. And so when we really start taking control of our emotional state, it's really about identifying what's going on with our emotions and how they're triggering our behavior. So I actually have...
So the project I was working on, this is not as bright and cool as I wanted it. But it's backwards. But we just want to show you. So, there it is, backwards. That's the 27 emotions. And then example. And then the 3 different states are the other 3 columns.
So, when you start learning how to identify these every time you're triggered, and it sounds like a lot, but really the more we identify our emotions, the more we stay in balance, the more we stay in control of our situation, the more intelligent we become because we're not popping off like a pinball.
And then the more productive you become, the more money you can make, the more people you can help, the more sane you are. You're not crazy.
Yeah, and bringing it into a business, the more you can go get leads, the more you can connect with the leads, the more you can connect with the people on an emotional level, the more you can influence them to listen to what you're doing, follow up, make sales, because you're actually providing for them and understanding what's going on inside of you, so you're not ping-ponging off or bouncing off everything. You can actually have a conversation knowing what the other person's saying instead of reacting to it.
It's really been fun talking with you with it today.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got energized when you were talking with Jesse yesterday.
Yeah, it was very good. And I will put the link up for that interview. Anybody that wants to listen to it, I had a good time. Me and Jesse really connected well, and we're going to be doing more stuff together because it was very fun, and he's a great guy. His name's Jesse Mogul. I'll put his information in our chat as soon as we're done. And I just want to say hello to Jamal, and hello to Julie, and hello to Robin. And Linda. It's good to see all of you on here. Comment if you have any questions or if you have any experiences of how you noticed yourself ping-ponging or pinballing yourself around when something happens. It's a perfectly natural state, and the funny thing is we're in that reactive state 99% of our lives. We just act and act and act. The more we train ourselves to identify our emotions, the less reactive we become and the more intentional we become. And so that's, I geek out on this stuff. I just do.
Yeah. But it's really interesting stuff to learn. For years, I just like, oh, that's his stuff. That's great. But putting together programs and courses and even the Canva yesterday, it really helps me think about what I do more and how I react or how I can act with intention.
And it deepens relationships. That's the big thing, is it deepens our relationships. Whether it's just your intimate relationship, which is awesome, but it also deepens the relationships you have with the customers. It deepens the relationships you have with the joint venture partners, your friends, your parents, everyone, because you know exactly what you're feeling. It's not just he did, I did, transactional kind of thing. It really becomes what's going on with me. The number one relationship that you really develop is yourself.
It is. Yeah. All development starts within.
Yeah. So, I don't know what else there is. What's that? Good morning.
It's Linda. She's got a little question for us.
Let's hear the question. I can't read it, so you got
to. Since we've all been in such a reactive mode, yes, we have, for sure. How do we go back to planning for the future? What will that look like?
That is a great question. Do you want to field that, or would you like me to take a shot at it?
The first thing that comes to my mind is if we're in the intentional state, we're just possibility thinking. We know right now, we're in touch with our reality that it is dropping, continuing to drop, or raising the curve. But as soon as any economic thing drops, we know we're going to bounce back. So what are some of the things that people are doing differently, like having an online presence, identifying their emotions now, and practicing that? It's really practicing it and getting familiar with the 27 so that we can act with intention right now. That's what I would say is the biggest thing, is if we're learning how to communicate now on the phone and in Zoom, how amazing are we going to be when we're back in person?
For sure. Some of the things I think about are, we can't predict when this is going to happen. So one of my go-to things, and I learned this a long time ago, was I can't tell what the future is going to be, so I will take care of now what I can do right now, what will work right now. And if you feel the camera is shaking, it's an earthquake. It's a huge earthquake called Nitro. And so he is, and he just ran away. He loves to rub up against our tripod. But we can't do anything about what's going to happen, but we can do today everything that's possible for us to move ourselves forward. And so what I do is I just focus on what I can do instead of what might I do later. And so I can make phone calls. I can attend Zoom meetings. I can reach out. I can put up different lead pages and lead gen and things like that. I can continue to do these
you can
Facebook
do,
Lives.
You can do your self-care right now too to
Definitely.
stay fit, stay happy about everything that's going on that you can control.
Definitely.
I think that's a big thing of what we can control now.
Yeah, and I can do what we were talking about before. I can identify my emotions when I get triggered. And the reality is the more I do that stuff, the more in line I'm going to be, like she was talking about, when this thing does alleviate. And so really focus on what I can do instead of what's not working, or when I can do other stuff that doesn't matter right now because I can't do it. And so put that stuff on hold and really focus on what you can do right now. That's how I have really lived my life for the last couple of years, 20 or so, 20, 30 years. Since I started making changes and doing personal growth, what can I do right now? I can do this Facebook Live. I can talk with her. I can talk with you people. But I can't worry about, well, what about 2 weeks when I'm supposed to go to this event that's already been canceled? Nothing can do about
just
that.
have faith that it is going to be awesome when we come out of it.
Right. And let go of the outcome. Really let go of what that's going to be, because when we're starting to think about that stuff, and this is just my opinion, but when we start thinking about all that stuff, I forget that I'm right here, right now. And so it's really about staying in the present and being able to take care of what's now and enjoy what is going on. And we can't enjoy the coronavirus, and I think it's stupid that all these people talk about the silver lining coronavirus. There is no silver lining.
But that's okay.
In spite of it,
That's okay.
It is. But still, in spite of the coronavirus, we have a lot of stuff going on that's awesome. In spite of it, we have a lot of stuff going on awesome.
Well, and I think it's more like not the silver lining aspect of it. It's okay if you're realizing that there's silver lining, but you can't focus on. You can't just, the silver lining. I'm learning to cook. I'm learning to do Facebook Lives. I'm learning to do
whatever else you're
learning to do.
For sure.
I think that's if you're just focusing on the silver lining, I think that's the BS part.
Yeah, I was talking about somebody this morning, one of the coaches I work with. He was talking about the idea of people having hope, and I was like, hope is kind of like knitting a fishnet parachute. It's just not going to really work out. You got a lot done. It looks really good, but when you try to use it, it's not going to work. And so
that's an image.
So think about the idea that hope doesn't really make change. Hope is not a very good plan for change. Action is a good plan for change, and do the actions that are in front of you that can move you forward. Connect with people. Get on Facebook. There's another person I was talking to yesterday who was talking about, well, all these people are on Facebook, it's flooded. Yeah, so do it too. It's kind of like if there's a lot of hotels going in, it's a good place for a hotel. If there's a lot of people on Facebook and a lot of people doing what we're doing right now,
I think
get on there.
Going back to the hope thing, we know we're going to come out of it. It's not a hope.
Yeah.
It's more of a win, but make it a win. So win, make it a win.
Make it a win. By doing the things you can do today so that tomorrow will be better.
And Linda is reminding us of the 10-10 recommendation. What can you do in the next 10 hours? What can you do? Well, let's roll that back. Let's change that. What can you do in the next 10 minutes? What can you do in the next 10 days? And what is your plan for the next 10 months?
Or 10 weeks. 10 of anything is good.
We can do 10 minutes, 10 days.
10 hours.
10 hours.
Yep. And so, in going back to this, I'm going to make this free for everyone. I am going to, I have actually put it on my website. I have a landing page that you can go to. It is not working right now because there is something wrong with my website, and so I'm powerless over that. I have to wait for my web guy to fix that. And so I've already done what I could with him. I texted him, I let him know the problem, and when that's working, that will be available. All you have to do is put your name, your email, and you can get that list for free. I want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to at least check the form out. If they like it and they want to use it, great. If they don't, they can throw it in the trash. They don't have to download it. They don't do anything. If you need help with it, I'm more than willing to help you. So contact me if you get it and you're like, what the hell is this thing?
That was really interesting. So once you have it, it's going to change your life. Find someone to go through it with, whether it's your husband, your kid, not your dog.
Not your kid. Do somebody your same age. If you want to help your kid through their emotions, that's good. But don't use your kid to go through your emotions. Not a good idea. Messes up the power.
That was awesome. He does use it with the kids, but I guess he's working with the parents first before he uses it. So that's
I use it with the kids,
the
but I never share
clarification.
my emotions as they're helping me go through mine. And so that's what I'm getting at. That clarification is really important. I don't think I've ever shared that with her because she hasn't seen me work with kids, and I haven't worked with kids in a while in that capacity. But I go through my emotions with somebody that's a peer.
So
And then somebody that's not
what
a
if you
peer.
were a 6-year-old and you had a 25-year-old kid? Would you go with it with your child?
Say that again?
If you're a 60-year-old and your
60-year-old?
child isn't an adult.
Yes, that's fine. That's fine. If your kid is an adult as well, that's different. Then they can be a peer. But if you have a kid that's a teenager or a youngster, and you're a middle-aged person with the youngster, you don't share your emotions that you're feeling victimized by with them.
I think we know that, but
Okay.
I appreciate you explaining that.
I over-explain stuff sometimes. I like to make sure people understand what I'm talking about, because sometimes I don't. Anyway, might I stop digressing? We have an emotion list. It's awesome. We can help. We want to share that with you. And she's laughing at me a little bit out loud and a lot internally. So,
What emotions am I feeling now?
anyway, this has been
How am I
fun.
showing up?
I hope it's been informative, and I hope we're not too crazy or just crazy enough that you keep on watching. So, we love you guys. We thank you very much. And stay tuned for tomorrow when we have our next craziness. It's been
But
fun.
come check out our emotion sheet. It'll change your life once again, and we'll teach you how to use it. That's probably the best way.
Go to generatorcoaching.com, EIT. That's generatorcoaching.com/EIT. That's the page you will find it on.
As we
And
call it, the emotion
identification tool.
identification tool.
Yep. And so we will see you next time, and have a great day.